Hello and welcome to Who Wore It Better, where we review Raw and Smackdown back to back and try and figure out which show won for the week. First off, I hope y'all had a very wonderful and safe and happy holiday weekend. Second of all, thanks so much for all those who watched the worst of countdown I put out on Tuesday and pointed out, which is admittedly my biggest omission, the Bayley-Alexa Bliss feud from earlier this year. I totally blocked that out of my mind, my memory banks. I can't believe I forgot that. It was truly awful. You know, this is your life in the candlestick and a pole match. Truly abhorrent, awful stuff. It really should have been on that list, and so my sincere apologies for completely whiffing on that one and not having it on the countdown. The Christmas edition of Raw in Chicago opens up with John Cena making his return to Raw. He likes to bop around a lot between Raw and SmackDown the last couple of months. I guess it's the perks of being a free agent. So Cena's cutting a promo, and he's interrupted by Elias, who makes his way down to the ring. The CM Punk chants start flowing freely here because it is Chicago, and because it is Chicago and they're chanting CM Punk, they do want to have that quick retort just built in, ready to go. This time Elias is the one who does it, saying, but CM Punk's not going to be the one interrupting Elias. I did enjoy the repartee between Elias and Cena here in this promo they had, and especially when Elias said he wanted to sing a song and Cena kept interrupting him, and they were interrupting each other, just all over each other, like back and forth. That part made me laugh. So then Elias sings his song, his anti-Chicago song. Cena and the crowd stop him, and Cena's like, you gotta sing a happy song. So Elias sings the happy song, and then Cena starts singing Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. He turns around, eats a punch in the face by Elias. Elias makes a challenge to Cena for a match right then and there, and then the match is just made, even though Cena is down and out, and he cannot respond to the challenge. Last week it was the referee having the power to make the matches, but didn't make sense. This week, apparently in WWE, matches can happen even though one party is physically incapable of answering the challenge. So we have this match though, Cena and Elias. It's actually really good. I think that's really cool to see Elias being given these cool opportunities to work against top level guys, even though he's not really doing anything else right now. Even though he loses the bulk of these things, I think that he's so over right now, he can absorb these losses and not be hurt too much from it. It's kind of like the opposite of Jason Jordan, where he was losing a lot, and it's like, okay, but put up or shut up time. It's gonna get to a point with that with Elias, but we're not there yet. I did enjoy one spot where he does kind of a jumping double stomp onto Cena from the Tree of Woe position. What I like better about this one than the Alberto Del Rio version is the fact that Elias grabs Cena by the arm and pulls him up, so he's bracing himself for the thing. It's not like it's not like Alberto where he just jumps off and the guy's sitting up and just waiting to take it. In this case, he's pulling him up to get him physically in position for the move. Also, Elias fights out of 2 STF attempts, so Elias is looking pretty strong here, although he does eat an AA at the end to lose the match. Cena wins because it's John Cena and it's Christmas. So yeah, a pretty good match here, and I have no complaints about it. Our next match of the evening is Hideo Itami's singles debut on Raw, taking on the Brian Kendrick. Not much to say about the match. I thought the crowd was very, very dead for this. When you compare it to the previous matchup with John Cena and Elias and how over they were with the crowd was just super into it. This one, not so much. At one point, Hideo yells out, "You will respect me!" And the fans didn't know how to react to that. Aren't we supposed to cheer you? It seems kind of weird you would impose that on us to demand your respect. I thought that was kind of a weird line for Hideo to say. Anyway, he wins the match with a GTS in Chicago of all places. I'm surprised people didn't throw garbage in the ring, not knowing that Hideo actually invented the move. But he hits Kendrick right in the face. It's the most brutal looking GTS I've seen. I don't know what the injury update, if there is one on Kendrick, but he took that pretty hard right in the eye or the nose area. That was a bad look for Kendrick. I mean, it looked brutal and it really sells the move, the deadliness of GTS. So Hideo wins that matchup. Up next, the women's match we should have had at the end of Raw last week is Absolution takes on Sasha Banks, Mickie James, and Bayley. This is a 5 match between all 6 women. At least it had a conclusive finish this time as Paige pinned Bayley to win the match. More heat for Absolution as they head toward the women's Rumble match. And speaking of which, the one thing I will say about last week's announcement, even though it was really ham-fisted and I think Stephanie's speech was stupid and everyone raising their arms at the end was dumb, what I did read was the fact that apparently all the women in there, their reactions to the news was genuine. They did not know that the match was going to be announced in that segment there, so apparently it was a genuine shock and happiness reaction. So that's cool that they get to share that moment live in the ring, even though it does kind of break the issue of characters and kayfabe and what they're doing in the ring at that time. Yeah, the raising arms thing was stupid, but hey, it's cool they got to experience that, have that genuine organic reaction, which what the audience had as well. They then announced that Dean Ambrose is going to be out for up to 9 months with his tricep tendon tear, which they wrote him out with last week on Raw. Now, first of all, knowing how the company reports injuries as of late, it sounds like a bullshit figure. He's probably going to come back way sooner than 9 months. But either way, it's still terrible news for Ambrose and his fans. I mean, he's going to miss the Rumble, he's going to miss Mania, and worst case scenario, even SummerSlam. But on the other hand, he has been, the biggest workhorse of the company these last couple of years, working like night in and night out. Even, of course, when he was champion, he famously worked 2 house shows in a single day. So there's no questioning, I think, his work ethic. I think he's worked so hard. So even though this is not the way you'd want him to get there, at least he's getting some kind of break from, beating himself up and killing himself in the ring every week. We get step 1 in Rhyno's plan to toughen up Heath Slater as Heath goes one-on-one against Kane. Of course, not much to say about this match because Kane wins handily, but I do like how they're focusing on Rhyno and playing it up on his role as a coach or a motivator to Slater, because Heath keeps trying to powder out of the ring and run back up the ramp, but Rhyno convinced him to get back in the ring and toughen up and be a man. So he does get beat up. Rhyno gets in the ring next, and he and Kane have a scuffle. Kane hits him with a choke slam, and that's how that thing ends. I will say that this segment, for as quick as it was, did accomplish a couple of things. It helped progress the angle of Rhyno and Slater, wherever they're going with that, but it also helps Kane get over toward the Rumble and his match with Lesnar and Strowman for the Universal Championship, and they have a long time to build that match. So yeah, they're gonna hopefully keep Strowman and Kane and Lesnar away from each other best they can before they get to the actual match, and help build them up individually leading into that match. The sign of the night, by the way, for this show was in the front row, "Don't you have mayor stuff to do?" toward Kane. In our next squash match, Curt Hawkins issues an open challenge to anyone in the back, and as he's issuing the open challenge, I think to myself, it's got to be Finn Balor. It's probably going to be Finn Balor. And sure enough, he used to be the answer to everything. Now he's the answer to Curt Hawkins. It's Finn Balor, because why not? He's not doing anything else right now. Who else would he fight this week? So he does win handily with the coup de grace. It is more ambling around for Balor at this point. I mean, he just came off like a 3-week program with the Miz Taraj, which he won all those matches, and now this one, I think that's now 4 weeks in a row where he's won on TV. So it's not a whole lot, but it is something to build off of when he eventually lands on his next official program, whenever that's happening. We then see Bray Wyatt make his way to the ring, and as he blows out the light in his LED lantern, who shows up in the ring with him but Woken Matt Hardy? The two of them have a scuffle. Bray Wyatt powders and runs away. Matt gets on the microphone and does his silly laugh. And of all the wild things and quirks that Matt Hardy is known for as the woken, broken character, the laugh is the one thing they decide to focus on and hammer home. That's the one thing now we know about Matt Hardy at this point. He does a goofy laugh. I don't know if we're ever going to meet Vanguard 1 or Senor Benjamin or King Maxwell or any of the rest of the broken or woken universe. It was just disappointing. Now the laugh is right now all we're getting. And that's this thing. It's kind of again, I think it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. I've been noticing with this feud, because when they first introduced Woken Matt Hardy doing the dueling promos, I liked it. Then they did the exact same thing the next week. I didn't like it. Then the following week they had separate promos, which I liked. Then this week they do this thing where they're really hyping up the laugh, which I think is not what we want to do exactly with this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is going to lead into, maybe it's going to progress into something more interesting beyond just the laugh, but that part just kind of irked me. Cruiserweight time, it's a Miracle on 34th Street fight as Enzo Amore, Drew Gulak, and Daivari take on Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali, and Akira Tozawa. Pop of the night goes for the fact that Enzo's dressed as Santa Claus, Daivari and Gulak are the elves, and they do the Enzo dance at the top of the ramp. That was pretty awesome. As I'm watching this, and I know I'm not the first person to come to this conclusion, but something needs to change with the 205 Live roster. It is essentially the exact same now as it was over a year ago when the show first debuted. There's so little turnover now with the Cruiserweight roster, with the exception of adding Kalisto to it and adding Enzo to it. What have they really done with the roster of 205 Live? It's the same matches now as there were in the beginning. Oh, and they added, I think they added Akira Tozawa eventually, and they also added Mustafa Ali. He was kind of a late addition too. But still, and Jack Gallagher's heel now. He wears different clothes and he's a heel now. So that's really, there's been so little change and turnover. I don't know what they can do to fix that. Can they can people graduate out of 205 Live into the main roster? Can we get some talent exchange with NXT? Something's got to happen to make 205 Live more interesting than what it is now. If you have any suggestions to what you think they should do with 205 Live to make it interesting and make the rosters fresh again, let me know in the comment section. Anyway, after Cedric hits Enzo with a candy cane colored kendo stick, say that 5 times fast, he then wins after hitting the lumbar check on Daivari. So the faces win here. Cedric will be facing Enzo for the Cruiserweight Championship next week on Raw, the first Raw of 2018. So this should be an interesting interesting matchup there. So yeah, that was a good little match. You know, everyone got their stuff in, a little bit of humor sprinkled in with the holiday theme, and you know, I liked it. After the match backstage, we see Enzo and Nia talking, and then they find out they're under the mistletoe. They're about to kiss, and then Alexa Bliss just runs in, and again, kind of being a C block here to Enzo, she drags Nia out of the shot, and that's pretty much the end of that bit. Again, you know, it's like, I wonder where they're gonna go with this with Enzo and Nia. Like, is somebody gonna turn here? Like, is Enzo gonna turn face? Is Nia gonna turn heel again? Like, what's going on with this relationship? It is like, it's something I am genuinely curious to see where they go, but at the same time, I'm kind of like preparing myself for a very underwhelming conclusion. Intercontinental title on the line as Roman Reigns defends against Samoa Joe. As I mentioned last week, the big question was, where's Poochie? I mean, where's Roman? It turns out, from what I read, he was off TV because he was taking time off with his family in preparation, or at least to precede the working on Christmas. So, you know, good on Roman to get that time off. So anyway, Joe, his whole story is he wants to break every member of the Shield. You know, first he hurt Seth Rollins in his debut on Raw. Then he's responsible in kayfabe for injuring Dean Ambrose's arm. So now he wants to put Roman Reigns out of action. So it's a good story, and it's a good like basis and a motivation for Samoa Joe here. It's a solid match until it ends in a DQ when Roman shoves the referee while hitting Joe in the corner, and the referee tries to back him off. So the match ends in DQ. Roman gets some more heat on Joe by hitting him with a couple Superman punches. He lays him out on the outside with steps. He wants to hit him with a chair, but he misses. The fans love it. You know, it's like, it's not a thing where they're booing Roman Reigns for doing this. They're pretty much pro Roman in here. And I think some fans, it's funny because I've seen fans different takes on this moment, because they're thinking, oh, Roman's been such a tweener when I was doing more heel stuff. I'm like, is he though? I don't think he's being more of a heel. He's like being a face because he's trying to fight back against Joe in defense of his brothers in the Shield. I don't think Roman, I certainly didn't read him as a heel here. Like, he's doing more of that tweener stuff, you know, certainly. He's been kind of booked that way all year, and I think we're just seeing more of that here, where it's like he's being aggressive, he's being violent, but he's doing it for a noble cause. So that's kind of the way I thought about it. You know, the match ending in a DQ, it sucks because it was, you know, a good match up until that point, but it, you know, again, the fans were into it, and it gives the fans wanting more in the future. This is not going to end here. We get the Miz-Taraj in the ring in their ugly sweaters. I love the antics these guys had all night, you know, caroling backstage. At one point, there's a scene where they're gifting Goldust a copy of Santa's Little Helper, and this thing really confused me, because when they showed the cover of the DVD, and I'll show this for comparison, they've got, you know, in this version I have here, they have the names of the actors, which include The Miz and Paige on it, but for some reason the version they gave Goldust had the names photoshopped out of the cover. I have no idea what the point. Maybe it's some legal thing they couldn't legally show Annalyn McCord's name in future showings of the cover. That was so confusing to me, but I did love the fact that Goldust regifted it to Titus Worldwide after the fact. So anyway, these two are involved in a Secret Santa match, and it's never really explained what that means. Maybe they just didn't know who their opponent was, but, you know, spoiler alert, it's Braun Strowman. He comes out and beats the hell out of the Miz-Taraj, multiple running power slams into both guys, so the crowd is happy with that. So yeah, it's very interesting how many squash matches with jobbers we've had on this night. We had, you know, Heath Slater losing to Kane, we had Kurt Hawkins losing to Finn Balor, and now the Miz-Taraj losing to Braun Strowman here. It's a lot, even though it's a 3-hour show. You had two of them back to back, and they get this third one here in the third hour. Feels like a lot for this show, where not a lot really happens. On the other hand, it is good to see more progression with Kane and Strowman, where they're not fighting each other as we go into the Rumble. The Raw Women's Champion, Alexa Bliss, makes her way to the ring and cuts a very biting heel promo on all of her fellow women on the roster and the fans as well. They show a clip of, you know, the Women's Rumble announcement from last week, which they've done like 8 times this whole week, and you get this moment where you think, is Alexa going to break character and be so gracious and humble about everything? Because she is leading you that path for a minute, then she hits you with a swerve and says, no, it's, you know, she does more heel stuff. I'm not going to try and quote the thing, but you get the idea. She basically teases she's going to speak humbly, and then she's just being a bitch again. Then out comes Asuka to interrupt her, and she says she's going to be in the Rumble match, and then she's going to fight Alexa Bliss for the title. Again, in so many words. She said it much more strongly and passionately, and in those 3 sentences that Asuka spoke, she did a great job conveying, like, you know, she's coming for Alexa Bliss. She kicks her head off afterward, and the fans love it. So Asuka looks very strong here. Main event time for the Raw Tag Titles as the Bar defends against the unlikely team of Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan. That match that Kurt Angle made earlier in the night here to play off more of the tension between Seth and Jason for the last couple of weeks. Jordan's still trying to prove that he can not only hang with the top guys on Raw, but beat them as well. I didn't think there was a lack of chemistry in this match between Seth and Jason. They certainly weren't like peanut butter and jelly good, but I think that they still flow together well despite having this built-in storyline tension. It was a very strong match here on the main event. It ends when Jordan drops Cesaro to win the match, and there you have it. The unlikely team of Seth and Jason are now the Raw Tag Team Champions. I think this really, in a way, even though I said before in my worst of countdown how bad this whole gimmick was, I think it does extend the shelf life of the Jordan gimmick in a good way. For one, it's that first huge win that he really needed to cement himself and make him more legitimate and credible. He did beat Cesaro clean in the ring, so like that was all on him. Like he did that on his own. So now that he's aligned with Rollins, it might help him get seen as more of a babyface for a while until his inevitable full heel turn, I'm guessing, because he was booed at the beginning of the night. By the end, everyone was cheering for him and Seth for winning the titles. Now, short term, I don't think it's really going to hurt Cesaro and Sheamus at all for losing the belts here. They are such a good tag team. They don't really need the belts to justify their existence. I think they can kind of float around for a while, being like the top heel team on Raw, and they will get them back eventually. I mean, as far as I know, they are the only real heel tag team on Raw, so it's inevitable at this point. The one thing that was going through my mind, though, as the show is wrapping up was, I guess the Shield reunion is officially dead now because Ambrose is hurt. Rollins and Jason Jordan are doing their own thing in the tag scene, and the same with Roman for the Intercontinental scene. Even though Roman is like fighting for the honor of his brothers, like now you're short one brother, now you got Jason Jordan filling in. So, what does this mean exactly? Are we going to see more like 6-man matches, or is this going to be like a brief, 3-man alliance, kind of like filling the gap in Dean's absence? I mean, I would see this, like I said, this is probably going to be what precipitates and precedes Jason's eventual heel turn. Maybe he'll be fighting for acceptance among Seth and Roman, and they're still going to be like kind of like, nah, I don't know about you. And that lack of acceptance is going to finally push Jason to finally snap and fully turn heel. I mean, time will tell. Before I move on to SmackDown, this week's edition of Who Wore It Better is sponsored by SeatGeek. It's an app you can download on your iOS or Android device that gathers information from ticket vending websites from all over the place. For concerts, sporting events, WWE, you name it, you can find the tickets you're looking for at the price you're looking for thanks to SeatGeek. The deals are numerically coded from 1 to 100. There's red means it's a bad deal, green means it's a good deal. You know exactly what kind of deal you're getting with SeatGeek. If you want to save money on your next ticket purchase, go to download the SeatGeek app using the link at the top of this description. Use the promo code REGRET in the accounts tab and you'll get $20 back on your first purchase. SmackDown opens with Daniel Bryan making his way to the ring. He announces that Dolph Ziggler is no longer the U.S. champion. He's officially relinquished the belt. So what the hell was the point of Clash of Champions and him winning the belt? Seriously, what was the meaning of all of that? Because he gives the belt up, so now is he gone for good? Like, is he really gone? Is he going to come back after a while? Who really knows? But the biggest thing is, what the hell was the deal with him winning on Sunday in the first place? So Daniel announces there's going to be a tournament to determine a new U.S. champion. There is a Rusev chant happening. Then out come Benjables, and they say, well, hey, Daniel, what about the SmackDown tag title scene? And as they're talking about they want a shot at the tag titles, you hear a Rusev Day chant. There's a bit of a pattern here. So then out come Aiden English and Rusev to a tremendous ovation, and they say they want a shot at the tag titles. Then come out New Day, they say the same thing. So Daniel makes a triple threat tag team match right then and there for the #1 contendership for the tag titles. So we've got the Usos coming down to do commentary at ringside. This is a great match, phenomenal match, like a pay-per-view quality match. Like, think of how good the tag team match was, the tag title match was a Clash of Champions. It's just like this. It's just as good, if not better, except no Usos involved. Gable at one point with this huge double German suplex onto Aiden and to Rusev. Rusev with a double accolade on Woods and Gable simultaneously. The fans want so badly for Rusev and Aiden English to win this thing. Unfortunately, it does not happen. Benjables wins after a double team move onto Big E. Again, what a match. 2 straight weeks of big wins for this team, and they're going to be facing the Usos for the titles next week on SmackDown. I do think that the company should have read the room better, and I think that they really should have capitalized on the popularity of Rusev Day while it's hot and had them win this match and then chase the Usos for the belts. I think it is weird that they would go to Benjamin and Gable at this point. I think, yeah, they should have struck while the iron was hot and have Rusev Day win. In a rematch from Clash of Champions, we have Breezango taking on the Bludgeon Brothers. This match was made in the online exclusive version of Fashion Files, where the Ascension made the match on Breezango's behalf, so they're not too thrilled with it. Similar to Raw, where you've got this big hyped up crowd for the opener with Cena and Elias going over to Hideo and Brian Kendrick, think of that only amplified with this match, where it goes from this huge triple threat tag team match that everyone was going nuts for to Breezango and the Bludgeon Brothers. The crowd is just dead for this match because they know what's going to happen here. So the Bludgeon Brothers are beating up Breezango, then suddenly out come the Ascension to save the day, and then, the match then ends at DQ. Then right afterward, backstage, we see the Ascension again makes another rematch against the Bludgeon Brothers with Breezango. So, like, I mean, I don't know where they're going with this. Like, how long can you have the Bludgeon Brothers after they beat up all these other, like, you know, these local guys? How often can you have them beating up Breezango and then eventually the Ascension before they finally do something serious with them? Ruby Riott beats Naomi in record time after some distraction on the outside from the rest of the Riott Squad. Then Charlotte comes out trying to make the save after the post-match beatdown, and then she's immediately beat up. So, you know, on the one hand, good heel stuff for the Riott Squad here to get them over, but at the same time, in like less than 60 seconds, you just eviscerate it and quickly and soundly beat the hell out of not only your top two female baby faces on SmackDown, but also the current and former SmackDown Women's Champion. So I don't get the logic in doing that because, you know, with Becky Lynch gone, really, like the scale of heel and face right now in the terms of the women's division on SmackDown is so skewed toward the heels with the addition of the Riott Squad and the temporary removal of Becky Lynch while she was out filming Marine 6, that this just seemed really out of place. Because then out come the welcoming committee, essentially. It's Natalya, Carmella, Tamina, and Lana. They come out and they chase off the Riott Squad. So first of all, what the hell was going on with Natalya's cryptic message, like where she says goodbye at the end of Clash of Champions in her match? She's just back here, no explanation given as to what was going on with that. And second of all, yeah, so but these four women, they're not baby faces. They're like they're faces in the sense that they are fighting counter to the Riott Squad, but that doesn't make them baby faces in the grand scheme of things. So really, what is going on with the SmackDown Women's division? It is robust. It's got a lot of women in it, but at the same time, there's like, it's very heel oriented, very heel skewed. Even when Becky Lynch comes back, you still only have 3 baby faces as opposed, you know, against 7 heels. That's way too much. That's way too imbalanced. The first match in the U.S. title tournament is Baron Corbin versus Bobby Roode. We get this tournament theoretically with a bunch of different guys, and this is the one we get to open the tournament. Is this match we've seen 100 times at this point? The match ends when Roode counters a chokeslam attempt, I'm guessing, from Corbin and turns it into a roll-up, and he pins Corbin to advance the tournament. So how many times now have we seen Baron Corbin lose via fluke roll-up in this year alone? It's way too many times for Corbin. Like, it's not a good look for him. For all the pushing they gave him to be the U.S. champion, he still loses in the most confounding ways possible. So then we go to our next tournament match with Ty Dillinger taking on Jinder Mahal. First of all, great to see Ty back on TV after it feels like forever off of it. And second of all, it's good to see Jinder in this tournament as well. I think it's a great way to bounce back and keep him relevant after losing the championship and then losing the program to AJ Styles at Clash of Champions. It is a good little match here, and Jinder does win with the Colossus, so he advances, as I think he should for a man of his position on the card. So yeah, I think that it's good to see him here. He was better at chasing the belt than he was as the champion against Styles, and I think that him like in the running for the U.S. title, I think would be a good kind of consolation for him. After a backstage interview where Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura announced they're going to be in the Rumble match, we then go to our main event of AJ Styles in a non-title match against Kevin Owens. A great match between these two. It's a given with these two. It's going to be awesome stuff in the ring. As the match is ending, Sammy gets involved, and then Shane McMahon comes out to try and get him ejected. As that's going on, Styles has Owens pinned, but the referee is distracted, and with that whole confusion going on, Owens then rolls up Styles, grabs the tights, and pins him for the 3 count. So once again, the Yep Movement team, the Kevin and Chris show, whatever you want to call him, they thwart Shane McMahon once again. You can see like Shane is kind of like sitting beside himself. He's very, you know, he's reserved in his anger, but you can tell he's kind of like, he's seething over the fact that he's again getting outsmarted once again over and over by these two guys who he just wants so badly to be done with. It's kind of like, it's very, in a way, it's similar to, you know, I'm not going to say it's Austin McMahon because it's certainly not that, but it is very similar to, you know, Vince repeatedly getting embarrassed every week by Austin. That's kind of like that whole thing. Again, nowhere near that level. I'm saying this is the parallel I'm seeing. And it's funny because earlier in the show, you've got Shane and Daniel talking about that. They're talking about, you know, oh, Shane taking offense to the fact that he was compared to maybe turning into Mr. McMahon. And Daniel saying, well, you know, you are kind of like turning into Vince. And this is kind of like how they're doing that. As I'm saying this right now, it all makes perfect sense. So really, now this vendetta with Shane and Kevin and Sammy is starting to impact the paths of other wrestlers in adverse ways. So what will the fallout be? Very interesting here. Time now for me to decide which show won for the week, Raw or SmackDown. I had to do some thinking about this one because I think both shows had a lot of high points and also some head scratchers as well. I am going to go with SmackDown once again this week. I think it was a more complete show. It was certainly more fun to watch, and there's sense of urgency with this show. They crammed a lot of stuff into this show, and there were some repeats from previous weeks, but I still think that overall, I mean, first of all, I'm going to say what really put it over the top for me was that triple threat tag team match. It was match of the week across both shows, probably match of the month as far as I'm concerned, all of December. I think it was great stuff between those three teams, and like I think for all the complaining I did about the tag team division in my worst of countdown that I put out this week, at least the SmackDown tag division looks like there are bright days ahead for what's going on with that side. The main event of Owens and Styles was great as well. I think that, I did have an issue with, the two top babyface females being destroyed in such short order by the Riot Squad, and it was all to build for the Rumble match as well, but you gotta have the faces look good too, to have some kind of showing of evenness or some kind of parity at least. Corbin and Rude, part 146, didn't want to see that match again, at least maybe now that the tournament's happening, we won't see that pairing for a while. And I do think that as good as the triple threat tag team match was, I do think that they had the wrong team win. Benjamin and Gable, great team. I am excited for that matchup next week. I just think that Rusev Day, again, strike while the iron is hot. With Raw, I thought the opener of Cena and Elias was great. Again, I love seeing Elias thriving in these situations where he's being put up against big name guys. Even though he's losing, it's very similar to Jason Jordan. Even though he's losing, he's looking great. I think they seem to have a plan for Elias that I think is exceeding the expectations that people might have had for him. The Miz, Taraj, I'm loving their work. Even though the Miz is nowhere to be found, it's giving them a chance to kind of thrive and be their own characters, and I am loving that expansion of what we're seeing with Curtis and Bo. And the tag title match, even though I think that the match on SmackDown, the triple threat match, was better as a tag team match, this one was still a lot of fun to watch, and then the surprise of Jordan and Seth winning was also big too. Let me know what you guys thought about Raw and SmackDown in the comments section below, and be sure to vote which show you thought was better in the gimmick in the upper right hand corner of your screen. Well folks, that'll do it. It's the last Who Wore It Better of 2017. Thank you so much for watching this series as well as the rest of the YouTube channel. Honestly, 2017 has been, without a doubt, the best year of my professional career doing this YouTube thing. I went to Orlando for WrestleCon, WrestleMania, and for Internet Darlings. I went to Boston to film my first ever film role, which was amazing. Thank you so much to Rick Chandler for being a fan of mine and recruiting me to do that role. That was awesome. I was in LA for No Mercy as well as another live show. I never thought I would run 2 live shows in the same year, but it was a great experience. Both shows I thought were very successful. I performed at 2 separate Cow Palace shows. I got to open for a Bruce Pritchard live show in Los Angeles. That was a great experience. Really, this year has been so awesome, and I really thank you all so much for your support and your feedback and helping me make this channel what it is. And really, I would be remiss if I didn't also show off this early Christmas present I got for myself last week. Thanks so much to Wildcat Belts for this custom-made Wrestling with Regret YouTube Championship. Grim, you have some competition. I'm the YouTube champion over here on the West Coast. I'm so happy with how this belt turned out. Wildcat did a great job making this for me. And they even, I don't know if you can see the purple gemstones, but not only that, they did something I didn't even ask for. They put a purple inside on the leather strap, which is really cool to match the gemstones. So yeah, again, this is really cool. I just wanted to indulge myself this year and give myself a little present. And there you go. I have this belt now. Thank you guys so much for the support again. Thank you so much for helping this channel become what it is today. And hopefully 2018 is going to be even better. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.